Next, we have a panel, and our panelists are Micah Nelson, Daphne Draa, and Kathleen Rauth. This group hails from Indianapolis, Indiana, and is made up of teachers, administrators, and parents of Indianapolis public schools. The group includes 3 former Teachers of the Year and the 2018 Outstanding School Librarian in Indiana. So let's welcome our panel.
Hello. So as teachers, we're really good at knowing when we're like losing our audience. And I'm feeling that right now. So here's what I need everybody to do. If you're sitting down, stand up. Stand up. Okay. And come a little bit forward. Come on in. Nobody gets to hide in the back of my classroom. Okay. And we're going to do a really quick focused attention practice, right, to get our brains back in, because you've been standing and listening and sitting and listening for a really long time. So I am going to have my friends demonstrate this right now. So put one hand out and make a thumbs up. Put the other hand out and make a pointer finger. And then switch.
Switch. Switch.
See how fast you can go. Go. Okay, now we got you. So, we're going to talk about push and pull factors today. And we're going to talk about the countries of, focusing mainly on Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. You've heard some history already, which is great, a great lead-in for what we're going to do. So, right now I want you to close your eyes and think about the last time you moved. So that could be you moved down the street, you moved to a new city, you moved across the country, you moved internationally. When was the last time you moved? We've all moved at some point in our life. What were the reasons that you moved? I want you to have 2 or 3 in your mind right now. I don't see you closing your eyes. I got you, guy. I need you to do this. Okay? 2 or 3. Turn to the person next to you and tell them what those 2 or 3 reasons were. Why did you move? Okay, you got them? Shout one out. Somebody shout one out. Affordability. In the new location? Okay.
What else? Better prospects.
What else?
Family.
What else? Okay, so these are all things that attract you to a new location. That's a pull factor, okay? Things that push you out of your current location are push factors, and that's what we're going to focus on right now, okay? So we have a little visual. Feel free to steal this in your own classroom. And it's a nice triangle for you, okay? So we want to focus on the issues of safety as a push factor, economic factors as a push factor, and social factors as a push factor. And we have some statistics that are going to help you visualize these issues. So under safety, we have things like crime, gang activity, and civil war, like we heard just a bit ago in El Salvador. We have poverty, lack of jobs, and drought or other natural disasters under economic factors. And we have things like education or medical care under social factors. So sometimes statistics are hard to understand and make them personal. So instead of percentages, we are going to look at things as a number out of 10, okay? And our friends are going to demonstrate in this box that we have taped off to help give you a little visual of some of these statistics. So according to Doctors Without Borders, of people interviewed at the border, 4 in 10 have had a relative killed in the last 2 years. Okay, thank you. 3 in 10 know someone who was kidnapped 3 in 10 know someone that was kidnapped. Here's one for you. All 10, 99%, or 10 in 10, to round up, of murders in Honduras in 2014 went unsolved. Unsolved. 6 in 10 residents of Guatemala and Honduras live in poverty. 3 in 10 live on less than $2 a day. And finally, to demonstrate this last one, I need number 1 in the square. In 2000, there were 37 murders per 100,000 people in El Salvador. In 2015, there were 104 murders per 100,000 people in El Salvador. So now I need 3 people in the square. 3 people. That number has tripled. The murder rate has tripled in 15 years. And I think that's a really important visual to understand as well. So these statistics give us a big picture. But now we're going to look at an individual experience as chronicled by Sonia Nazario's book, Enrique's Journey, which is a wonderful resource for your classroom if you've not read it or aren't familiar with it. There's also a young reader's version, and I encourage you to look into that. But we're going to hear about Enrique's journey so that we understand it a little bit more personally.
So the square will now represent Enrique and his life. We're going to use a strategy called kinetic visualization to demonstrate the cumulative nature of these push factors. Enrique travels from Tegucigalpa, Honduras, to Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, and finally to the United States. He makes 8 attempts before he is successful. What began these multiple dangerous and hostile journeys? Why would a child risk his life 8 times to make this journey? It starts here. Enrique is 5 years old, and his mother leaves him and his 7-year-old sister to try and make a better life for her children by working in the United States. Her plan is to send for them. Her husband has left. She must find a way to care for them. A good job in Honduras is out of the question for her. She plans on being gone 1 year or less, and then she'll bring her children to the United States. He's entrusted to the care of his father, even though he's been separated from Enrique's mother for 3 years. They live with Enrique's grandmother, but at age 7, his father leaves him with the grandmother so that he can be with another woman and start another family. Grandmother lives in a 30-foot square shack she built herself. There is no running water, only one room has electricity, sewage runs past the front door, buckets are used for bathing, and clothes are washed on a rock near the latrine. Drinking water must be hauled up the hill by Enrique at 7 years old, 2 to 3 times a week. They live in deep poverty. Enrique begins working at the age of 8, and by 10 he's selling spices and assorted merchandise in the market without a license. In between working, he sees kids sniffing glue. He completes elementary, but as a young teen, his anger and resentment send him into the streets. With no parent to keep him from his streets, his behavior escalates, and his 7-year-old grandmother is not able to handle him. She tells him he must leave her house. Enrique goes to live with his uncle, and he is well cared for him. However, at age 14, his uncle and his colleague are brutally murdered. The uncle's girlfriend sells all the gifts that he had given to Enrique and kicks him out. He is taken in by his maternal grandmother, but she is already caring for many family members. Enrique is overcome with grief from the death of his uncle, and he falls into a deep depression that ultimately leads to him sniffing glue and smoking marijuana. His grandmother banishes him to a stone hut behind the house that once was a cooking shack. Enrique feels rejected again. He becomes addicted to sniffing glue, and his behavior and thinking become erratic. He owes drug dealers money, and he steals from his family, and he is arrested when he is caught. Another uncle tries to help, but the addiction is too great. His grandmother is not able to deal with this addiction and his attitude, so she kicks him out. He fears he will end up on the street or dead. His girlfriend is now pregnant, and he knows he has no way to care for her, the baby, or even himself. He believes that his mother is his salvation, and if he can only get to her, his life will straighten out. 75% of the unaccompanied children that INS detains are looking for their mothers. At 16 years old, he leaves to find her. He writes his mother's telephone number on a scrap of paper and also inside the waistband of his pants. He has $57 in his pocket. Directors of refugee centers say over and over again that the most common thing these children and teens bring with them is the phone number of their mothers.
The thousands of children experiencing the dangers and trauma, like Enrique, are why we are all here today. Becoming more aware of the factors that pile up and push people to make this impossible choice can lead to more purposeful and meaning action. And while push factors can feel very overwhelming and sometimes hopeless, we have the collective power to push back.
Push back! Push back!
Caring educators around the world work to mitigate these challenges in our own classrooms every day and in others through our outreach. Educators, we challenge you to stay engaged and mindful of opportunities to serve. And to help you remember, we're going to offer you this small token, a safety pin. It has some numbers that you can call to help advocate. Many children take these pens, and they're really something very valuable to them. We urge you to wear this pen daily as a reminder to take action until all children are free and safe.